live on YouTube, and listen back on Spotify. This is the World of Football podcast.
Good evening, Happy New Year and all of that jazz. Welcome back to the World of Football podcast at last, live on YouTube and of course listening back on Spotify. The boys are back for another episode, and first of all I got to give a shout out to this absolute legend. Would have been his 40th birthday. Happy birthday, you absolute god, Mr. Sol Bamba himself. But aside from that, we've got a packed out show for you tonight. We're looking at old Sackwatch. We're going on to we were right once again about Welsh clubs going into Europe. We're going to discuss it in more detail. And by the way, anyone who's wondering what that spin the wheel is right by there, that's going to be part of it, because we're going to be doing a little bit of a fake draw, as there's only going to be 16 teams in it. And we're also going to touch on this man's beloved Italian club as well, who are on a bit of a resurgence as of late. So, Julio, we're going to start with you, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. I apologise that I haven't got my camera. I've got some kind of camera trouble this evening, but I'm here and I'm committed to the cause. And I'm busy at the moment, uni, work, exams, the lot. But, I've spent way too much time off YouTube, I think, the last couple of weeks, Christmas and New Year and that. So if my return means I have to argue with the weekly lunatic, then so be it. I'm just happy to be here with you both.
Wicked, great to see you, bud, as well. And speaking of the weekly lunatic, Mr. I'm having loads of Bluetooth problems. Reece Russell, how are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's just been a bit ridiculous. The PC has been a little bit of a prick. Don't know why, but it keeps hiding my Bluetooth for some reason, so it's becoming a bit of a nightmare. So.
Absolutely, and great to see you as well, bud. Obviously, welcome back to the channel. So we're going to kick things off right away with good old Sackwatch. We knew a few of these were coming. The Sean Dyche one, I think, was completely stupid for a range of reasons. I'm going to get onto my opinion with it straight away. Everton fans, you bunch of hipsters, you've done it again. Look at what you did with your treatment to Sam Allardyce all those years ago. You were fighting for Europe. You were in the top 10. Admittedly, the football wasn't great to watch, but that's what you get with Big Sam. You come along in your hipster train going, right, we want pretty football. Your owner's absolutely shocking. We've broken down what they've done before. Me and Reece delved deep into your finances and how much of a joke they are. You bring in new owners, and guess what? Fans have a strop again. Oh, football's not pretty enough under Sean Dyche. New owners sack him, and you bring in David Moyes. Absolute embarrassment. Julio, what's your thoughts, man? Because I hope Everton get the absolute worst to them now because of this. Like, probably one of the most unfair sackings in years in the Premier League for me.
Do you know what? Every exam period, it feels like we're talking about Everton for me. Like, every exam period of mine. Like, you guys went into the finances deep in my last exam period. Let's look at it. Right. The board have gone in, this new board have gone in. Clearly, they don't think Sean Dyche is the man going forward. Now, given the fact that until now, what Sean Dyche has done, he's done it with, obviously predicted them to finish higher than where they are currently. But I think, how do I put this? I've had discussions with Reece the last few days and debates about it. And obviously, the way he characterises Everton about how much money they've spent to end up here is factually correct.
They still deserve it.
Okay, yeah, let me finish. Because I'm not talking about who deserves what and who doesn't, because quite frankly, to spend so much money and be so poor, you get what you deserve, agreeably. I just don't think it's fair to characterise and compare the last 3 years with the previous 6 or 7 years of Moshiri, because in the last 3 years, they've had to rely on player sales, and they've tried to follow FFP and probably have and probably haven't in certain aspects. Like, they didn't really add to the team last summer. They sold one of their better players, and then They brought in a centre-back who they don't really play, a couple of other permanent transfers, and then a few loans, one of which is the same player as last season, Jack Harrison. And another one being Armando Broja, who's not really done much, has looked decent the last few games, and now is looking like he's out for a serious injury again. There's no goals in this team, which is bad because the way Sean Dyche plays is pretty much, if we keep it cheap, always got a chance of
You're breaking.
Yeah, you're breaking up, man.
But when you've got strikers who, between the two of them, the last 4 or 5 years have scored about 47 goals together in Beto and Calvert-Lewin, 30 for Beto in the last 4 or 5 years, 17 for Calvert-Lewin in 3 or 4 years, it's not good enough. And when your only source of creativity, arguably, is Dwight McNeil, and he's injured, there is not a lot more going for you in that team. There's a lot of average players. There's a good goalkeeper, a couple of good defenders, some decent midfielders, but there isn't enough on the wings, at fullback, and up front to maximise how efficient Sean Dyche's style of play can be. The other issue is, apparently, he's gone to the board in conversations and said, this is as far as I can take them. Now, if the manager is saying that, it sounds like he's downing tools. Now, I'm all for a manager to be realistic about the situation, but if you say that to a new board who have come in, who are probably looking to move you on anyway, you're basically saying you're either controlling your own destiny or you're downing tools, or both. So Sean Dyche leaving, I think the Everton fans have been a bit fickle with what they've complained about, in the sense of they complained about not having possession in a Carabao Cup game against Southampton, who still had Russell Martin in charge, which I think was stupid, and especially with some of the players they've got.
Can we just say against Southampton, considering the way that Russell Martin plays, and of course how that ended up, and the way that Southampton in general have just been this season, by the way, a disgrace, is what I'll add. I think there's a bit of stupidity here from the Everton fans, and 100%. I know it's going to be bad for me saying that, but if you're really that fixed to realise that you're going to get more possession than one of the worst, in my opinion, one of the worst managers to ever be seen in the Premier League, and that is saying something, then there's something wrong with you. Like, going back to what you said about Sean Dyche potentially downing tools and saying, look, this is as far as I can get them. When you look at that squad, especially that front line, and the fact you're playing Ashley Young in 2025, that squad is just not very good. And that's a message to the new owners to say, right, I'm happy to be sacked here because I've taken them as far as you want, or you're going to have to invest heavily in me and bring in players that will suit my system in January if you want me to push up. And because at the end of the day, Sean Dyche has proven that he can take teams into Europe. He's literally done it with Burnley.
If he's given
the
full control,
and given
if he's given full control, which I don't think is going to be the case. And I think the only time Russell Martin has actually Sean Dyche has spent fully with a lot of money has been his final season at Burnley, where they spent big money on 2 players and looked like they were going down. The form was declining. The football didn't look great. Of course, Everton fans were unhappy, but I've seen some ridiculous callers on TalkSport, of all things, talking about how David Moyes is a depressing appointment and how the club shows no ambition and they should be looking at the likes of Fonseca, Allegri, Terzic, who was at Dortmund last season. Now, in their own rights, in their right jobs, all 3 of them are good names, but what gives you the right to want those 3 when you have such a crap squad, I'll be honest, where 2 of your 3 right backs are over 34, and you don't have the pull being that far down and having fought relegation for the last couple of 2, 3, 4 years.
Correction, my friend. Correction. Never had the pull.
Well, no, because the only reason I say that is the fact that they could have got Fonseca maybe in 2020. That's what I'm saying. When they got
that would have been entertainment. That would have been pure entertainment for me.
But you see what I mean in terms of what a manager's, what a manager's expectations, Fonseca would never leave Roma or anything for 16th place Everton or wherever they are.
Yeah, I mean, there's elements to it. There's elements to it.
Yeah, I think Moyes is a safe pair of hands. I don't like some Everton fans calling him a snake, saying he was disloyal, and then sounding like the bitter ex when they said, and you know what? As much as I like Moyes, his football wasn't even good at the best of times anyway. Like,
it's Everton fans being bitter.
Exactly. And you've just hired the bloke.
And bearing in mind as well, when he left for Manchester United, this was my opinion at the time. At the end of the day, Moyes was there for over 10 years at the time. He'd taken him into the Champions League. He was consistent and he built the foundations there for them to push forward in the machinery. At the end of the day, that was the time that Everton needed flesh blood. Otherwise, it was just going to drown out and Moyes' reputation was going to be affected. So I think at the time he got out correctly, and if I was an Everton fan, I'd be happy, to be honest, for a transition.
Also the United job, are you really going to say no, whether you think you're up to it or not?
Exactly.
Especially if Fergie walks into your office and goes, "You're the next United manager," and you just sit there with your mouth open, like, what?
Mm-hmm.
What? Bearing in mind, Moyes was like fifth choice. Excuse me, was like fifth choice. Fergie spoke to a lot of other managers who either said no or said they were going somewhere else or whatever. And I just think that, obviously Moyes is going to come in, but he's got the same squad. He's got the same squad Dyche did. Now, I can't wait for the prime Barclays tactics he had with Ndiaye and Dwight McNeil when they come back in. But what Everton need right now is some more creativity in midfield and some more goals.
I think they need a bit more than that, personally.
Long term, of course they did. They did a whole new team, arguably, probably 9 extra players. But realistically, now in January,
not exactly. I don't think essentially they need a new team. What they need, and this is a problem with Everton because they've had this for a very long time, and I've been very consistent with it, and this is regardless of the spending. The biggest issue I have with Everton is Everton don't have an identity. Yeah. It doesn't matter about the amount of money they've spent. They've got no identity. You can have all the creative players in the world, but you can play counter-attacking football and be found out. Like, there's ironically a player that Everton have had for so long and they've never used him properly. And that's Andre Gomez in midfield. They've never used him properly. If you look at every manager since he got signed, he's never once been used correctly. He's the easiest. Yeah, he's the easiest player to use in their team because he's quite simply he is just a sitting midfielder that can play deep possessional football and he can play the balls in the final third. I'm not saying he is directly this player, but Andre Gomez is to Everton what Christian Eriksen was to Brentford. It's not hard. It is genuinely not hard.
Have been wrong for that kind of player. Of course, management 101 play players to their strengths. Like if you've got someone who can be a good deep line playmaker, why would you not use him in that role? Of course,
exactly. It's like having Ruben Neves and using Ruben as a sweeper when he's one of the best deep line playmakers in world football. Now he's playing for blood money. Sorry, he's playing the Saudi League, so I've got to watch my mouth. Arguably one of the best midfielders in his position in the Premier League. He should be still in the Premier League. I can think of a few teams that would suit a player like him right now. But Everton, literally with Andre Gomez, you had a midfielder who could literally dictate play for you and you use him like a bum. It is genuinely ridiculously bad.
I think
it's wasted potential.
I think with Moyes coming in though, I think
this is for you as well.
I think Moyes might be the guy to get the best out of a lot of these players.
You know what I want to see him do? I want to see David Moyes go to the new Everton owners because the new Everton owners can outspend West Ham like nothing.
Oh, easily.
He should clear the debts. The Friedkin group have cleared the debts.
Yeah, he should go to Friedkin and go, this is all I want. I want Max Kilman. I want Mavropanos. I want Jared Bowen. I want Lucas Paqueta. And I want Nicola Füllkrug. Give me them. Put me in this Everton team. he will cook. He doesn't need to go from anywhere else. Just cook on the club that stupidly sacked him. Now, I said it last year, and I stand by it, and I'm not saying I'm wrong in any shape or form. West Ham were right to say it's time to move on David Moyes because 100%. They had to start going away from his football. Not because his football was bad, but after you've won a European trophy and then you fumble, you can't reward a manager by keeping them on.
And at the end of the day, you can't have a manager forever, no matter how much he's done for the club. You have to transition at some point. For example, Manchester United, even though, we've been on this conversation many a time, but moving away from Fergie, look at the squad that Moyes had to inherit from there, you know?
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with West Ham, though, is Lopetegui was the right man for the West Ham job, and I will still die on that hill. Lopetegui was still the right man for the Everton job. The problem is, even he didn't know what he wanted to get out of this West Ham squad.
Yeah,
I think that's the worst thing. Yeah, and I think his confidence was also hit low as well because Wolves refused to back him. And I think he wanted to prove Wolves wrong. And I think that's a good ambition, but when you're trying to establish yourself in a different club, which, let's be real, has got a bigger heritage than Wolves. I agree with what Maisie said as well. I don't think the players gave a shit.
No, he didn't.
Like, when you look at the squad he had, like, you bring in players like Guido Rodriguez, for example, who was killing it under Pellegrini at Real Betis. You've got a serious defensive midfielder there. You've got James Ward-Prowse. You've got Kilman, who he barely used. He never used Todibo, which really says a lot, and I'm actually kind of glad that Man United dodged the bullet and didn't go in for him, which makes me think maybe there's something else wrong there. You've got Nikola Füllkrug, who unfortunately never got the service, and when he had chances, he was getting left, right and centre, and he got injured, so he doesn't really fit into West Ham, which is a shame because he's a really good senior striker. Mikel Antonio is finished as a football player. He will never play football again. Jared Bowen.
What about Swansea Somerville from Leeds, though? Because
he's been crap. He's been crap.
He was decent last season, but ever since this move, I think A, his attitude's changed, and B, he just doesn't fit in that squad. Yeah, he does. Hence why he left Leeds.
Yeah, he generally thinks he's bigger than what he is. I said it to you, 16 months ago? I said, I like Somerville, but the better player will get a bigger move, and that's William Gnonto. Correct. He is an incredible player, and I still stand on this hill. In the summer, he is gone. There's no way Leeds are keeping him. No idea who signs him, though. But he's gone. If I was Everton, I'd go all over him as well. He fits that David Moyes team. He's a counter-attacking winger. He would be really good for Moyes. But
I think, to be honest, Moyes likes to jump into the Championship. He did it at Everton. He did it at West Ham. He will do it at Everton.
I think he can't do it this time. I think he can't afford to do it this time.
Absolutely can. There is some quality in the Championship, like Gnonto.
I'm not saying there's no quality. But if you're trying to rebuild this team after going through such a shit show, it would be in my opinion, it would be a big mistake unless you're going from any of the teams that are coming up. If you're signing players that aren't coming up, don't bother. I don't think it's a wise move. If there's a gem in there that you want to add to the squad in the future, yes, I'm all for that. Morgan Whittaker from Plymouth, there's an example.
Even then, he comes with risks as well.
He does. And I think this is the problem. Everton need to look at the players around them level to level. So your Crystal Palaces, your Fulhams, Brentfords, Brighton, West Ham to a degree are still around their level. Despite the fact they've had a really poor season, you can't really deny they're still on the similar level. You'd have to say Southampton as well. Leicester. You need to look at their squads and think who's potential on the fringes that they would be willing to sell.
Or someone's bench.
Or someone's bench. Take their bench, weaken their squad, and improve your own. It might actually do them a favour. I do agree.
Further up the league. I always make a point that gone are the days where someone's...
But then again, another approach they could do, and I know obviously they got hit with a points deduction last season, go for the Nottingham Forest approach. Because at the end of the day, what they've done is they've quietly built And I think, in my opinion, they're in a title race for me now.
They've got the same record as Leicester did when Leicester won the league. Except Forest are a better team. When you look at it, Forest are a more better team in my opinion.
Exactly, and the reason that they've done that is because they've brought in these fringe sort of bench players. For example, Callum Hudson-Odoi in 2019, he was being linked with a move to Bayern Munich. Pick him up,
40-50 million as well.
Yeah, couple of million euros. Pick him up, chuck in the team. Alanga, same scenario at Man United. There's getting players like Mario in as well. Chris Wood, who was on the fringes.
He's linked to Juventus, AC Milan, Lazio right now, Chris Wood.
Yeah.
Which is shocking. Like, no thanks, personally, no thanks. But he is doing really well for Forest.
He is. Scores goals at this level. And when did you buy him? When he was on the fringes of Newcastle, when they just didn't need him anymore because they got Alexander Isak in.
Except they're regretting that because Isak is gone in the summer.
Yep.
Oh, Newcastle fans,
But at the end of the day,
said that out loud, didn't I?
This is the model that Everton should be taking.
Oh, Maze, calm down.
To work.
Calm down. Just because he's no longer there, if it's a good thing for you. He's not competing with Sporting anymore. He's now beating Inter Milan in a final.
No, at the end of the day, Koikichawa will get to it. What an appointment that is. But we will get to AC Milan later.
I've got some humble piety on that one, I'll admit.
Do you know what's crazy, actually? Reports came out today that apparently the West Ham board are reviewing the position of the sporting director, because there's been constant reports under both managers they've had since he's been there that there's been a lot of discontent between the sporting director and the manager. So Moyes had issues with him, Lopetegui had issues with him, and either it's two managers who want their... put it this way, it's either two managers who really want their own way and don't like someone taking control, or it's someone who's supposed to be acting between what the board want and what the manager wants, and he himself is causing a lot of issues in that regard. Now, I don't know which it is, but I don't know, it could be briefings to make it look bad on his part, because, you know, they've spent a lot of money in the summer. I thought there were some good players that came in.
Same, I was really impressed with some of the moves.
Another scenario, going back to the sporting director problems and stuff, two examples of what bringing from the Championship. Obviously, Dewsnip now gone from Plymouth. All of the Plymouth fans wanting him out. And usually I'm like, why would you want to sack a director of football? Swansea were like it for ages. But at the end of the day, when you go through a cycle of managers and just a squad that's lobbed together, that's where you look at, because they're meant to obviously sign players and do all the recruitment on behalf of the manager. And when you go through a couple, there's only one place you're looking. And then at Stoke, every single season, they spend a stupid amount of money. They have a promising manager, expensive squad, and it just all falls apart in a relegation battle.
I think the worst thing as well...
goggles are on you.
I think the worst thing as well, and this is true indictment of West Ham, is West Ham carbon copy have done exactly what they did when they got busted under Alan Pardew.
Yeah.
The first time, not the second time, the first time, when they brought in like Mascherano and Tevez on a dodgy deal, and they were lucky to stay up. It's not that they signed players of that quality, it's they've made such a big risk by signing far too many good players, and they were expecting Lopetegui to fit them in. Now, Lopetegui's a good manager, but they asked him a very difficult job of a squad that didn't seem ambitious enough. Like, look at Jared Bowen. Ever since Jared Bowen lifted the Super Cup, the Conference League with Declan Rice, Jared Bowen has been a disgrace in my opinion. He's a good player. But he has been a disgrace in and out of West Ham matches. His numbers continue to improve, but his attitude on the pitch stinks.
Yeah.
And they've got an identity crisis in goal as well. They keep making changes with a goalkeeper. Just stick with one. If Areola hasn't got enough croissants, then go and get another number one goalkeeper who'll actually do the job. Like, it's ridiculous. Their identity crisis. They're just Man United, but we're maroon. Like, they've got the same issue with us right now. They've got an identity crisis. Except the fact is, they're not hoisted by much more debt than we are. But there's a pathetic level of behaviour with certain levels of players, and he should be said.
I love it how you've just called him that as well, considering his performance in the Euros as well. That full Krug, excellent.
She's trying really hard not to swear. It won't last. it won't last.
It won't.
It definitely won't. Like,
I think everyone in that West Ham side has been poor this season, to be fair.
Yeah,
no one has exceeded expectations.
They're weak, and I think they may have jumped the gun a bit too soon. I think they were never going to get relegated under Lopetegui. West Ham fans saying they were going to get relegated are just reacting harshly and stupidly. But you get Graham Potter, you're not going to do anything. Like,
at the end of the, I was going to get to him shortly as well, but I rate what Graham Potter's done as a manager, and I do obviously like sort of how he conducts teams and stuff, especially what he did with Brighton, taking him from what they should have been relegated in 18-19.
Yeah.
What was it? Yeah, 18-19, and then dragging him up to Europe. However, the issues I have with them, Östersund, that's an outlier for me, because obviously that was in Swedish football and he just did ridiculous there. Graham Potter moves on way too quickly from jobs and thinks he's the bee's knees because of the style of football. So when he went into Swansea, had one season there, finished mid-table, completely mediocre, when they were expected to finish in the playoffs, jumped ship straight to Brighton. Does decent there, you can't knock him for that. And the recruitment was absolutely fantastic, but he had the board structure above him. He had Dan Ashworth in his side.
To be fair, I fairly can mock him. And the reason I can mock him is look at how crap his teams were at scoring goals.
Exactly.
They're ridiculously bad.
We all know the reason for it. We all know the reason for it as well.
He would rather play tutti frutti football, and it's really ridiculous. Yeah, to be fair, the Wan-Bissaka thing is true. It is funny.
Yeah, Mr. Booker T, of course.
Yeah, no, you can do a few spinneroonies for me. I do have one concern though for Everton though, just going back to Everton. My concern is that what essentially are they expecting David Moyes to do? Like, he's not gonna take them into Europe. He's not gonna win a trophy with them. What essentially is he expected to do there? Like, it doesn't seem relevant to me. Like, it just seems like, oh, we're in a tight situation. We'll just go back to the guy who was here for 10 years and maybe he'll help us out. I don't know. I don't really get it. They
Considering the teams above them, nowhere near. The only way they'll do that is if they win the League Cup, which they're already out of. And they're not winning the FA Cup this season with that squad depth.
Nah. The only way they get Europe is if all the Premier League clubs above them get struck by lightning and all their players die. Like, there's no way that Everton get European football.
And here's my next point as well, Reece. Thinking about the 20 teams in the Premier League right now, I don't think I can name more than 3 sides that are worse than Everton. I can name them too.
Controversially, Everton are the 17th best team in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Not because of where they are in the league. I don't care where they are in the league. They're the 17th best team in the league. They are that awful. They're worse than Ipswich, they're worse than Southampton, and they're worse than Wolves. And Wolves are where they deserve to be.
Yeah.
Before they got rid of the clown they had in charge. Because Gary O'Neill as well, he's absolutely rubbish. Gets replaced by a proper manager and they finally start playing Guedes and Cunha together. It only took them, what, a year plus a loan move to Valencia? Fucking idiots.
It's ridiculous.
Imagine letting go of one of your best players and loaning them out to Valencia, where they're a clusterfuck anyway. I'd be keeping Guedes. He gets goals. He was quality for Benfica. Why would you get rid of him? Ridiculous.
I would.
Benitez, yeah. Benitez,
yeah, he did. I wouldn't. He had a contributing factor, but I wouldn't say it was like it was majority Benitez. I think it's all from the top, because look at failure after failure after failure.
I think, to be fair, I think it's kind of funny, but it does hold true. When Benitez did get the job, the first thing Doug said was Agent Benitez.
Yeah.
Like, and it did hold true, to be fair. Look, he went in there and he didn't take them seriously. He took that as a joke. And Everton were a joke under him.
They were, at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure the only reason he took the job because he still lived in Liverpool at the time.
Yeah,
so
and
he was
else wanted him.
No one else wanted him, and at the end of the day, Everton are a big club. Might as well.
See, since they play such turgid defensive football, and they like to play a certain defensive organised way, I'm surprised that West Ham didn't consider Benitez.
I'm surprised that as well.
He was linked with them quite a lot as well.
I mean, I think it may have worked. I think, to be fair, I found it funny that Jose Mourinho was linked to Everton. I was like, there's no way this is going to happen. Behave yourselves. He's not going to come to a club like yours. But I think they will regret. I think they'll regret choosing David Moyes. I've always liked David Moyes. I've not a bad thing to say about the man, except comparing Ferdinand and Vidic to Phil Jagielka. But I've got no qualms with him, and I don't think Mays is wrong either. Our latest 3 comments are all spot on.
Yeah, because I will say, reference if Everton got relegated, that if you look at the last couple of seasons, in particular the last 2 or 3, the gap between the Premier League and the Championship is getting absolutely ridiculous.
The money is
with the quality.
now.
The money's insane, and the standard of players. And for me, the Championship is getting weaker because of that.
The Championship is ridiculously bad.
And not only that as well, it's because there's so many dodgy owners there. I know a lot of them are starting to leave now, unlike some who were protesting against on Saturday. And by the way, for anyone who watched Central Club earlier, we have got a plane now for Saturday. That's how bad things have got, Vincent San.
I watched I'm not sure if it was the game on New Year's Day or the game just after Christmas, but unfortunately they were on TV, and I hate the rubbish, but Leeds were on TV. Sky Sports. I can't remember who they were playing at the time. Dan James missed an absolute brilliant chance.
Oh my god, I remember that. I think it might have been Hull they were playing.
That's it, yeah. Dan James missed an absolute beautiful chance, and it made me smile. Because the guy's the worst player I've ever seen play for Man United. And I started celebrating when he missed. And I'm just watching this game, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, they are ridiculously shit.
Yeah.
Even for a team that's flying in the Championship, they look awful. Mind you, they're being managed by a fraud, but they looked ridiculous. And if they are the team that wins the Championship, they're the team I'm predicting to be first to get relegated.
Honestly, I'm not surprised. Like, even thinking about it now, I know I'm breaking away from topic, but everyone is awful this season. Like, Burnley are shocking, and like the Burnley fans want him out. Already,
because he's crap. We said this at the start of the season, Nathan. We said he is going to be the reason they don't go up in automatics. They can have
celebrate that.
They can have all the money. Like, do we remember the team he took down with Fulham?
Yes.
Yeah, of course we do. It was crap.
And then Marcus Silva gets him up and stabilises him in the Premier League the next year.
Exactly. To be fair, Maisie is right. The odd exception for promoted clubs is Forest.
Yeah.
I would say Fulham now. I'd say Brighton are well established now from that exception of always promoted clubs. Like they're
jumping back to Fulham, I will say that
Bournemouth now, they're not going back down now.
At the end of the day, for me, Bournemouth and Fulham, they absolutely nailed it when they got promoted.
The second time.
Fulham, second time, definitely.
I've been really impressed with Fulham. They knew when to bail out as well. Like, they knew when to bail out in a terrible manager in Gary O'Neill. And they went and got a real manager in Iraola. All right, Catherine, what's cooking? They certainly got that right. So it's always a blessing. I can't stand half these football clubs anyway, but they're embarrassing. So Jesus Christ,
that he took that team down, Reece. That midfield, those wing backs, that defense, that forward line.
Oh yeah. And I'll say
that's not a bad team.
When I look at this,
Ola Aina at right centre back is criminal anyway. But
there's only
who remembers that Adenoma looked than this though?
I'm just being honest. See, when you look at this team, I'm being honest. Go back on that for a second. Just for 1 second before I bring up John Jones' comment, because that's an excellent comment.
Yeah.
Unless he's kicking the fuck out of people in the octagon, then we best wait. Brighton are definitely ahead. That's because Brighton are finally doing what I begged them to do. They're spending money. when they weren't spending, they were just selling.
That surprised
If I'm looking
me
at
that they
that,
spent money.
I said they would. I said the minute they sell one other big player for big money, if they want to compete now and force their way into conversations, they need to spend. They flipped the switch and started spending. So, and they annoyed me by sending Matt O'Reilly. If I'm looking at this Fulham team, I'm being honest, lads, I only rate 4 of the players in this team, maybe 5. Joachim Anderson, Tosin Adarbayo, Anthony Robertson, Anguissa, Loftus-Cheek, and Lookman. So actually, no, 6.
That's 6 players. That's half. That's over half.
But not
of the
Areola.
team.
Actually, not. I don't care about Areola. So 2 of the centre backs, 1 of the midfielders, the left wing back, and the 2 wide players. Well, Loftus-Cheek is not even a wide player, but why he was playing out wide as well is pathetically stupid. But yes, I don't think much of Cordova Reed. I don't think he's improved any much. I think Areola is overhyped. Mario Lamina is crap. How he's the Wolves captain, I'll never know. Mitrovic is hot and cold. He always was. And Aina, I didn't think much of him, to be honest. I do agree he was in the wrong position, but even when he was playing his right position, he didn't really do much in the Premier League.
He's been doing really well this season for Wolves? No, for Nuno at Forest. I mean, I always thought he would have been better as a wing back anyway, but he's been quite good as a right back this year. And
I guess his position suits him.
Even so, that is not the worst lineup in that year.
No, it's not. And John's absolutely spot on as well. Brighton did well selling Caicedo. Caicedo's been rubbish for Chelsea. I agree. And Cordova Reed is trash.
I think he's stepped it up a bit this year. I think he's been playing more to his strengths this year.
I still think he's not as good as Lavia. I think Lavia is by far the better player.
Oh, of course, like a talent ceiling, yes, I agree. Lavia needs to just find his way onto the pitch consistently.
It would help if Maresca knew how to pick a football player. I think he'll regret that. He should play him more often.
Yeah.
He's a really good player. To be fair, Chelsea are going to finish the top 2 next season.
Yeah, to be fair, it wouldn't surprise me either.
Oh, I think they will.
Especially with the way they're building as well.
And Arsenal finish outside the top 4.
Would that be with Arteta getting the sack as well?
He'll quit at the end of the season. He'll resign at the end of the season, Arteta. That's if Arsenal want to get past the 3rd round in the FA Cup.
True. Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, speaking about... So in terms of that, and we haven't really touched upon it in a while, but based on obviously the ridiculous amount of sacking the second part of the season before we move on to our next topic of obviously Wales, who are your 3 teams to go down now? Both of you.
Same 3 in the relegation zone.
Interest. So the 3 championship teams.
Yeah, I thought Ipswich were going to survive, but nah, McKenna hasn't turned that team around. They're going down. They won't sack him though. But yeah, Juric has not got enough time to stick with Southampton. He'll quit anyway at the end of the season, and that's about it. There's not much in it. I think Leicester are fine. I think Leicester could surprise. It depends on what they do with Van Nistelrooy. They need defenders in the midfielder though. Palace, I agree with Palace, to be fair. They've been shocking since they sold Elise.
Oh, they have. Yeah, Julio, what's your thoughts, man?
He's standing by.
That's an interesting one to see Palace there.
I think he has a fair point, though, to be fair. When I look at ever since they sold Elise, they've really went downhill.
Yeah, I can understand that. Believe it or not, I'm going with Everton and Ipswich to stay up. As a bold choice. I like what Ipswich have been doing recently.
I would like Ipswich to stay up, but don't think they will.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, ignore me. I'm just trying to sort this very quickly. There we are. That's better. Yeah, I'm just trying to get all the colours on for this spin the wheel. There we are. But yeah, moving swiftly onwards. We called it
weirdly
on this pod. So there was murmurings going around towards the end of last year, and we said, right, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen this way. So for anyone wondering, from next season, providing that the FA approves it, which I think they will, considering the amount of UEFA's approved it, the Welsh FA have approved it, the clubs have approved it, the leagues improved it, etc., etc. So what's going to happen? The 12 teams from the Cymru Premier, which is the Welsh Premier League, to translate, obviously, and the big four, I could say the big three in Newport, they're all going to be chucked into this tournament, the new Welsh League Cup. So what it's going to be is 4 rounds, obviously, because there's 16 teams, if that's correct. And then the winner gets into the Europa Conference League, which all of the money generated from the tournament and also European prize money will go into grassroots football to grow the Welsh pyramid, which there's not much funding there. There's no big TV deal. It's all S4C, which is a subsidy of the BBC. Lots of clubs go bust in the Welsh League and they really do need funding. So first thing, before I get on to you guys as well, before we start spinning the wheel and to do a mini draw to see how many derbies we get, I just want to respond to a few things that I have seen online reference this. So first of all, people saying, oh, you need to go back to your own league. You should be playing in the Welsh League again. No. Learn your history. Actually do research about it. The big 4 Welsh clubs, and I will have to call them the big 4, unfortunately, they have never played in the Welsh system. At the end of the day, when they were all founded, Wrexham were the first one, Cardiff were the second one, there was no Welsh league. They all had to play in the English leagues, and ever since then, that has been the tradition. Obviously, we've played in the Welsh Cup before, and that's another thing I'll get onto in a minute, but we've never played in that league, and we always have to grow the Welsh interests and, of course, help our grassroots league, which there's nothing. At the end of the day, before Barry Town went bust, TNS have just won everything recently, with the exception of like Heaven Druids and stuff. And then on the other hand, with it's giving you guys an unfair advantage to more money from Europe. A, the money's not going to our teams, it's going to grassroots, which is criminally underfunded. And B, during the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s, we used to enter the Welsh Cup, the full whammy. Sides like Barrytown United and stuff were still winning it at that point, so they still have a chance. At the end of the day, no one complained back then. Why all of a sudden now are people complaining? At the end of the day, you've got no premise to get there. There's a history with Welsh sides playing in Europe, and with the way they've been run, and let's be fair, Cardiff, another protest at the weekend. We have been terribly run for the last 15 years. Swansea nearly fell out of the Football League back in the 90s, early 2000s. They've had a bit of a run, but they've always had stinking ownership. Newport were exiled in the late 80s and have just worked their way back. And then Wrexham, they spent 16 years out of the Football League as one of the oldest clubs in the country. All of these teams have had ownership problems. And at the end of the day, when are they going to ever play in Europe and get the money for the Welsh grassroots? Yeah, just want to know your thoughts on it, because I think it's an absolutely brilliant idea. And lots of people who are saying the criticisms of it, I think it A, biased towards their own clubs too much, and B, they're not looking at the bigger picture or doing their research.
I'll keep it short and sweet. I like it because it allows the diverseness of players to play matches and get match experience in a competitive level. My only negative is they shouldn't just treat it as an opportunity just to play under 21s. They should still play their full main squads, because you want to actually see competitiveness. You don't want to just see kids play, because then it's not going to be as entertaining. No offense to them, but you want to at least excite the crowds by actually having your best players showcased in these tournaments. So I hope that's what we see as well, but I like the reward at the end of it.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it is much needed, and even then, there are opportunities for youngsters to be played as well, to especially ease fixture congestion, because I've said it before and I can see it happening for the FA to approve it, for the Welsh clubs to come out of the League Cup, and I'll be more than for that. At the end of the day, we will get onto the FA Cup shortly, but that's a tradition that needs to be maintained. and I'll always have massive respect for that tournament. But the League Cup and the way it's run now, where it's getting very, very elitist to the big clubs, like at the end of the day, the last non-top 6 club to win it was Swansea, and that was 12 years ago now.
Yeah,
that tournament is pretty much dying for me. And with the changes they've made with like seeding and stuff, it's only going to get worse from there. So I completely back that. Julia, what's your thoughts, man?
I was thinking about this conversation today, actually, because of the discussion about the replays around the FA Cup.
Thank God they're gone.
I disagree, man.
I would disagree with that, Reece. I think replays should have stuck around.
I disagree.
If the Big Six keep making a point about replays or whatever, okay, make sure it's always at their home ground, because we talk about how the Football League is underfunded and clubs are losing money and they're going bust, etc. The prize money they get for the replays literally makes that level of difference.
I already debunked a way that they can fix that.
Well, with the summer tour thing, yeah, okay, it was a great idea.
That wasn't it.
They should go anyway. Like at the end of the day, Newcastle playing, who was it, like Tottenham or something in Australia a few days after the season ended.
That's what I mean. The summer tournament, you move the League Cup into the summer and you start from there. And
but that's not what I said about the FA Cup, though. That's not what I said about the FA Cup. What I said about the FA Cup was all the lower league sides get all the home games on TV. Like, even if it's against the bigger side, you put them all on TV. There's enough broadcasting organizations to do it.
You can argue that you get more money from gate receipts from going to big grounds.
At the end of the day, that's a good idea, because I saw something where someone was touting for this is just for the third, fourth round. The top 32 teams, as in where they're obviously seeded currently in the league, all of those teams play away. The lower 32 all play at home. However, the problem with that idea, and we saw it with Cardiff Sheffield United on a Thursday night, is if they're all on TV. That's your problem, because at the end of the day, Thursday night, 7 o'clock, which is early for a midweek game anyway, 6,000 in attendance, 150 Cardiff fans. And also other teams like Sunderland struggle with attendance. Southampton Swansea was low attended as well. It does affect some clubs when they're putting these on TV.
The problem is, though, if you're doing replays regardless of the club, all these clubs are going to have the same issue of more fixture congestion, more players are at risk. I don't care if it's a profession, like they're claiming this year it's all about the health of the players. So getting rid of replays reduces the risk of injury. Keeping it in increases the risk. There shouldn't be replays anymore. It should be one and done. You can still do your extra time, you can still do penalties. But just get the lower league sides are playing that day. Just get them all on TV. All the BBC channels, all the STV, ITV, Sky, TNT, just put them on telly.
I do have two things about that, though.
People watch.
Will that reduce attendances in the stadium because they'll see it on terrestrial TV and be like, oh, there's no point in me attending now and spending all that money. And B, has UEFA squeezed the FA Cup a lot? Because for me, they have.
I agree on the second part. On the first part, I don't think it would have much of an impact because you're still going to get attendances. You're going to see people fight for tickets. Not in a way that you're actually going to be scrapping, but you'll see the competitiveness to get a ticket for a game, depending on the opposition. And even if it's on TV, you'll make TV right money anyway. So it's a win-win. Like Tamworth versus Tottenham was the right game to put on TV.
Yeah. Because
Tottenham are shit. But it was the right game because Tamworth made some good money out of that. And they were the home crowd. Completely fine. They would have struggled if it was the Tottenham ground, though. Because, no offence to Tamworth, but I don't think they would have had enough fans to get even a decent amount of seats at Tottenham.
I reckon they would have taken 1-2 maximum. Bearing in mind, I think you're allowed to allocate up to 15-20% for FA Cup. It's written in the rules that you have to give more as well.
Yeah. John, that's a not bad idea.
I have suggested this before.
I still don't think there should be FA Cup replays. But if you ban if you don't allow Prem clubs into the League Cup, then it kind of takes away the competitiveness. But if you can present it in such a way, it'd be nice. I'll tell you what, though, that would be okay for me. I don't know what you'll think about this, Nathan, but I think it needs to go. They need to scrap that cup that's only exclusive for League 1 and League 2 clubs, that Papa John's trophy.
Oh, that's terrible.
That thing needs to go, because nobody should be playing in that trouble anyway. It's rubbish. You win nothing. You win nothing out of that.
I would disagree with that. I would disagree.
Of course you would.
Well, no, because
Northampton fan.
you've got to be realistic though. When are these clubs ever going to go to Wembley apart from a playoff? This gives two leagues the chance to go to Wembley. I think
but then again,
not every.
Yeah, but to spin that on the head, Julio.
Not everyone.
Cardiff City. We went to Wembley 5 times in 4 years when it first opened.
Yeah.
We were one of the most visited clubs to Wembley at the time.
Exactly, and I'll say this as well, and this is what I stand on it. Not everybody should get the right to go to Wembley. I'm not saying make Wembley an exclusive club, an exclusive option for certain teams, but clubs like Cheltenham Town and Stockport don't deserve to go to Wembley. I'm sorry, but they don't. It's a wasted cup anyway, and it just adds to the fixture congestion. Just remove it.
At the end of the day, you've also added the under 23 sides in there. It's at the end of the day, it's just clutching at straws.
I don't like Premier League under 23 sides being in there. I think what's also a problem is we complain about fixture congestion. These EFL sides play 46 games in the league and then add possible FA Cup games from earlier rounds. Their so-called participation in the League Cup, which I think they should forego, and then the Papa John's Trophy.
I like this guy.
Yeah.
I'm starting to like this guy.
That is a solid comment. Yeah, to be fair, getting back to Maisie's comment, we very nearly qualified for the Women's Champions League group stages this season. And also the Cardiff City women went invincibles last year as well.
Yeah. I mean, this is the biggest thing as well. And if you remove the Papa John's Trophy, if you remove it, theoretically, then you've got the ability to say, fine, then we're going to take the Premier League clubs out of the League Cup. If they did that, I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. That gives the Premier League clubs and everyone a chance to still fight for the FA Cup.
Yeah.
And then everyone else goes for the League Cup. And then the thing is, though, is the problem is you shouldn't be denying a club a right to win a trophy. That's the problem.
But then again, to narrow it down, especially with UEFA coming into it, especially with the Club World Cup and stuff, spinning on John's idea, and I know I've mentioned this a lot, is any team in Europe isn't allowed in the League Cup.
That's what Maisie's just put in the chat.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that. To be fair, they did it to Man United at the turn.
A few times.
They did it to United at the turn of the century. To be fair, they made us choose between the Super Cup, well, the Continental Cup as it was back then, before it got remodeled to the Club World Cup. Either pick the Intercontinental Cup or pick the FA Cup, and we had to abandon the FA Cup that was ours to defend. But
plus, not only that, with the Carabao Cup as well, it allows a different club to get into Europe every single season, instead of for years where we just had, I know it became like 7th place, and then, for example, Holland Swansea picked up European places, but it gives a team that wouldn't expect it and something to fight for to get into Europe every single season. And that's why I think the magic's gone. Like, look at the early 2010s and the variety of clubs that got into Europe. It was great to see. Even championship sides.
Yeah, I think Maisie's right, and so's John. But the points they're made, like, I agree with Maisie. I don't know how the hell you can put 7th place in the Premier League into Conference League football. Yeah,
usually that's because it depends on the winner of the Carabao Cup. It should really go to the runners-up. So, for example, if Man City win it, just go straight to 7th place, which happened for donkey's years.
They should do the same with the FA Cup, though.
They should. Because I'm pretty sure the team in the FA Cup final used to get Europe.
It used to be the UEFA Cup / Europa League.
Yeah.
And the League Cup winner did as well, to be fair. There's ways to do it. There is ways to do it. The FA just need to have the balls to do it. and we all know that the FA is never going to do it.
Exactly. And the main thing I hope they do as well, which I'll get to in a minute, but yeah, I mean, something's got to happen. But they're just, at the end of the day, they're just holding on to their money. They're obsessed with, that game will get chucked on TV, we'll get a bit of cash for that. That's what we want. And that's
have a little bit of bravery to put random games on.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we've seen for the last couple of years. But
like, Manchester United don't need to be on TV every week if it's an FA Cup game. Man United don't need to be on TV all the time. Arsenal don't need to be on all the time. We can have randoms like Moor Games Rope Motors, or whatever they're called, or Forest Green Rovers. Like, put them on TV. Bit of fun. Watch them beat Liverpool 1-0. It'll be all right. Or watch Arsenal get eliminated in the third round.
Exactly, like none of these nothing sides, because no offence to us, our game against Sheffield United should have not been on TV. I know it was on BBC One Wales, but that was a joke, that was.
Yeah, and that's another thing.
Like, I keep going on about this one as well, John. Why on earth do we keep getting Middlesbrough away midweek? It's a joke.
You'll be funny. Going back on Maisie's comment there, that one there, at least if it takes European teams out, it'd be quite funny if Tottenham all of a sudden stopped qualifying for Europe. So Tottenham can actually try and win a trophy. I'm saying this so by the way.
Daniel Levy doing that as well.
I actually hope that the League Cup final is Newcastle versus Tottenham.
The movable force against the resistible object.
The heavy pressers versus the barcode salesman.
The heavy dossers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've as well, especially for National League. That's shocking.
The only reason I want those two in is because it would be a different winner for a change, and at least it would be two teams that would actually give you a final, and we'll get to see if Ange Postecoglou can tell the truth, and then we get to see Newcastle lose for pure banter purposes.
Again.
Yes. Third final in a row. Make me happy.
But yeah, moving back over to our obviously the Welsh clubs back in Europe segment. So what I have done, let's do some predictions here. I've loaded all the potential teams into a spin the wheel. We're going to do a mini draw here, and I want everyone. So obviously there's going to be 8 fixtures in the round of 16. Lads, how many derbies are we getting in this draw? Because I'm going to prove to you how exciting this tournament is going to be.
I think 5.
Reece is going for 5. What is it? 5 out of 8.
5 out of 8, and we're getting Cardiff versus Wrexham.
Genius. Julio, how many are you going for, bud?
4.
4 derbies. I'm going to be a bit modest, and I'm going to go 3. So let's do it. Cardiff. I can't wait to see Cardiff Wrexham in League One next season. Speaking about Wrexham, they're first out and get a home side.
I'll laugh if it's Cardiff.
It is not Cardiff.
Ruined my life.
And to be fair, technically, actually, no, that's not a derby, but that is a pretty dead. That's a pretty dead draw. Wrexham against Barla. Anyway, next up.
If we get Newport versus Cardiff, you're hanging yourself in shame.
I am, yes. The Jacks get a home tie.
This has got to be Barrytown.
This will be Barry, I guarantee. Oh my god, that's the first derby. For anyone who's wondering as well, Haverfordwest County's nickname is the Bluebirds.
If Cardiff were to lose, they should forego their right to call themselves the Bluebirds.
We should, and well, because there's 3 major clubs with the nickname the Bluebirds, and like we're the biggest. Who we got next? TNS. Oh, who's that? Cardiff?
No.
TNS at home. Oof. Who against?
I'm gonna say Flint Town United.
Flint Town.
Ooh, Brighton Ferry.
That is a dead tie.
I mean, with a name like that,
Have you seen where Brighton Ferry is, Reece?
it's
If
Wales.
it's not on the coast, I'll be furious.
It is on the coast, but it's underneath a motorway. I'm not even joking.
What?
Jesus Christ.
All I'll say is just Google it.
Oh,
Ooh.
Penny Bond.
International Penna Bonds. So look, they could actually win the league this season. Who are they getting? Oh, they just missed Barry Town. Oh my god, that would have been close.
We need Cardiff versus Cardiff Metropolitan.
That would be ridiculous. Cardiff City playing a university team. Incredible.
Cardiff would still lose.
And we would, yes. That is Cardiff City getting a home tie.
Cardiff versus Newport. Oh.
That would be insane. Right, let's have a
Cardiff
look.
versus Cardiff Met.
Come on, give us a close one.
Oh, fucking hell.
Oh my god! To be fair, that's another dead tie. Cardiff Connors Key.
We were so close.
Oh my god.
We were
Right,
so
who's
close to
next?
the student versus master.
Master of their downfall.
Oh,
Right, Cardiff Met are playing at home.
This is Newport.
It
No,
is
Maisie.
Newport.
No, Maisie, behave. This is. Oh, yeah, this is a dead game. This is a crap game.
I gotta say, this
Aberystwyth
draw's been
Town.
underwhelming. Here we go. Who's
Aberystwyth, isn't that
next?
like the middle of nowhere?
That is in
Yeah.
the middle of nowhere, yes.
Against Newtown.
Speaking about the middle of nowhere, Newtown get the home tie.
Newtown
Oh, it's actually
again.
pronounced Newtown. I thought it'd be pronounced Newtone or something.
Newtown, man.
They're getting
Why have we
they're
got
getting
3
Barry.
teams left?
Oh,
Oh, on the edge, just about to steal Newport.
Flint versus
And then that
Barry.
means Flint versus Barry, who gets the home tie.
Barry. Fuck.
Oh, that's a long trip.
That's murder.
That is murder. So, out of that, how many derbies have we got? One.
2.
I think we just got one, lads.
Newport is a shithole.
It is. It really is. So, a bit of context for anyone who wants to run that back. So, we've got Wrexham against Barlow, which sort of North Wales-ish. Swansea against Haverfordwest. Now, that's pretty much like a South Wales derby.
Mm-hmm.
Then what else have we got? TNS against Britain Ferry, which couldn't get further.
Mm-hmm.
Penabon against Carnarvon, that's a north-south derby. Cardiff against Connors Key, north-south derby. Cardiff Met against Aberystwyth, which is just long, full stop. Newtown against Newport, boring. And then Flint Town against Barry Town, which is just going to be a Barry Town victory. But yeah, we completely got that wrong.
That was fun.
It is fun, but it goes to show how exciting it could be and how much of a disaster it could be.
For me, Maisie, the best part of me, Maisie, for Newport was on the train. You're now leaving Newport.
Just sort of have to go through it and just close your eyes at this point.
Oh, I wanted to shoot myself.
But yeah, a bit of context with the North Wales clubs. You've got Wrexham, you've got Barla, you've also got Carnarvon, Connors Key, and Flint Town. Got a couple of Mid Wales and the rest of South Wales. So South Wales ones, you've got Britain Ferry, you've got who else you've got there? Cardiff Met, Newtown and Mid Wales. So you can't really put them in, and obviously the lo and behold, Barry Town United. What a team! Yeah, quite interesting. And I will show you Britain Ferry for anyone who wants a bit of context of where they are. Let's get the old screen share up. And when I mean they are literally based underneath a motorway, there is Britain Ferry. So if I put the man down, actually, that's not a very good thing. I put them on the main road. That's not a very good photo either. I'm trying to get the one where you can literally just see into a motorway from where they live. Where is that good photo? You just see this massive overpass. Just, yeah. Awful. Absolutely awful. But yeah, that's my thing on Welsh football done. So FA, make sure to get it approved, you know. Yeah, it is South Wales. It's pretty much on. It is by Swansea, so
it's a dump.
Yes. But yeah. Anyway, aside from that, moving swiftly onwards. I know you guys want to get onto it. We touched on the FA Cup a bit earlier as well. Exactly. Let's get on to the ref watch. Reece, where do we start?
Deliberate cheating.
Bold but fair. Explain.
The referee for the Man United Arsenal game was absolutely on their tick.
Mm-hmm.
And it says a lot when top Arsenal streamers were saying it was never a penalty and it was never a sending off. And it was never a foul on Fernandes for his booking. Well, it was never a booking for him for that foul. The sheer lunacy in the FA Cup game, it was ridiculous. That referee needs fired. He needs to be fired.
On top of that as well, obviously there's no VAR in the third round.
For clubs like Man United and Arsenal, there should have been VAR there.
There should have been. And how many would have it been a different outcome with VAR? Because I know that there's a lot of criticism still from the Premier League. I know they've started to mic them up in the EFL Cup. But
genuinely, even though he's a clown, Dallo would never have been sent off. And the Kobe Mainu yellow would never have been given. Fernandes, his foul. Can't remember what clown it was, but he would have been sent off for that foul because he actually takes the boot off as well. It was absolutely shocking. That referee was pure corrupt, and I thought it was funny that Arteta was blaming the referee for Arsenal. They're cowards. They're the weakest team out of the so-called top 6 clubs. And I'm sick of saying it to Julio. They are a bunch of frauds.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this as well. See, when Jesus got injured, I started smiling. Because karma's a bitch. He deserved that. Even though I don't wish injury, he deserved that for what he did. Tried to injure him, he got caught, injured himself. Adios. I got no sympathy for cheats.
Julio, what's your thoughts, man?
I don't think I've seen anything as blatant of match fixing as that. I think Arsenal fans criticising United's style of play as being low block defensive, I think is ludicrous because they praised their team for going down to 10 men at the Etihad and doing the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. I think United did well when they went on the attack. Mm-hmm. All things considered, they actually looked threatening. I'm starting to lose patience with Rasmus Højlund. Xerxes' cameo was so good by comparison.
I'm done with them both, man. I can't, and I've defended them. You've seen me defend them. And now,
I think it's quite concerning that Højlund, whose apparently his only strength is finishing, has been here the same time as Jackson. And in the year and a half since they've both been here, Jackson has improved and is looking good. And Højlund hasn't. Now you can talk about it being on the coaching staff, but some of it's got to come from the player. And we spent, albeit we overpaid for him, and that's not his fault. That's on the board and Ten Hag for pushing through such a ridiculous financial move. But the fact that this guy was bought off the back of 9 career goals, something ridiculously low like that. He needed another year with Gasperini before you can even warrant that kind of money. And I remember seeing
12 career goals.
Okay, fair enough. That's a little bit better, but not by much. Now I knew obviously we were getting what was a squad player at Atlanta who hadn't been there long enough.
He was fourth choice.
I've seen a young, raw Lukaku at West Brom and Everton. Do you know what I mean? And I use this reference because no matter what you say about him, his touch was not as bad as Højlund seems to be. His hold-up play was better and more productive, and the bastard scored goals. And I'm not seeing that from Højlund, you know. So
you could have picked anyone else. You could have picked anyone else.
I pick it because it's a good example. Because what Lukaku had when he came to the Prem, he had a year at Chelsea where he didn't play. He had Sturridge, Drogba, Anelka, Torres all ahead of him. Then he went out on loan, and as the more time he was out on loan at West Brom as the season went, he got better. And then he went on loan to Everton, had a very good year, and was signed off the back of that and kept going at Everton. Now,
he's a prick.
It's hilarious because people in the debate that is good night in the debate that is whether Lukaku was a good signing for United, the only thing that's used in Lukaku's favor is how many goals he scored in his first season, which was 27, but that was ridiculously purple patched. Højlund is a worse version of that. Højlund scored 16 goals last season, and for a young striker in his first full year as a starter, it's good. But when you look at it, I think there was only 3 goals after February until now in the league. Anyway.
His
purple patch was he scored in Europe pre-January, and then he had a purple patch. Like I think he scored like 6 and 6 post-Christmas, but it's quite worrying.
That's
it's quite
Benjamin.
worrying that we're not seeing.
It's Benjamin Šeško.
I mean, Šeško is a very good example of a player who's gone in at Leipzig, has developed whilst he's been there, and he's looking more proven. Now, if I was the board in the summer and I was facilitating a move, as in someone had to go and someone had to come in, I'm not going to lie, I'm keeping Xerxes.
I'm keeping
Xerxes. I'm not, because I don't see the board facilitating sales of 2 strikers. And I think if you're going to keep one, I think you keep the one that's actually doing all right. And Xerxes, for me, he's not been bad enough to be booed the way he was at Old Trafford. And I like Xerxes. And I just don't like the fact that within 3 or 4 months of the season, for United fans are writing off Xerxes when Højlund has been here for a year and a half, and only now people are starting to think, okay, now I've defended Højlund and I like what he offers on paper, but the reason I've gone into this rant is that I'm just not seeing any improvement. I'm not seeing any improvement. And the hilarious thing, if you look at our goalless draw at Anfield last year, Rasmus Højlund misses an identical chance that he missed at Anfield last week.
It's because he's pish.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing the same things. He's wrestling too much. He's not offering enough. His first touch seems to be dreadful. And as much as I like the kid, I feel like it's just not working. And I mean, he needed a senior striker ahead of him, a Giroud or a Morata or someone of some kind of ilk, an older striker, more proven, who would play more regularly. They could be some kind of understudy. But, you know, the United board facilitated a move for Højlund and facilitated £120 million on a striker who doesn't seem to be improving, and an English player who's in the final year of his contract who doesn't seem to play at all. If they could have saved themselves £20 million, not bought the midfielder and just bought Harry Kane.
No, I think they still had to get the midfield. I think even if they had signed Harry Kane, we're asking for trouble.
But what was the point? This is an injury. This guy never plays. What's the point of signing a midfielder that's just not going to play? I agree that they needed a midfielder, but I know it's easy to say in hindsight.
It's just signing the wrong midfielders. That's just the problem. But I think if United had went all in for Harry Kane, we would have made a massive mistake. He wouldn't have succeeded here.
Yeah, he wouldn't have.
I will die on that hill. Ollie Watkins would. Harry Kane wouldn't.
I would agree with that. In fact, Ten Hag chose Watkins over Højlund. No, chose Højlund over Watkins, as it happens. There are reports about that, which is very concerning about the manager's talent ID. Look, I think I did like the performance of the weekend, because what it showed was, even though they went a man down, which, by the way, I still think Delot was silly. I think the red card overall is a bit harsh for the two challenges, but I still think he was a bit silly in both instances, a little bit. Why don't you have awareness in the first one? And the second one, I know once you're running after the ball like that, I get that you feel like you have to commit, but there is less of a chance you get in there. And there's, you basically, even if you don't touch him in real time with no VAR, you are begging for trouble. And the fact that even though they conceded within 5 minutes, if that, and they still showed grit, they still showed some fight. I think Bayern now he's played a little bit more regularly than he did in the previous 11 months.
Or sellout.
I was about to mention the sellout opinion. I was actually going to tweet it last night, and I just never got round to it. But playing a goalkeeper more regularly, and you see what he's about. I'm not saying Bayern is the world's best backup, but it's good to see that he's redeemed himself the next time he's in North London. He made 2 or 3 big saves, including the penalty. By the way, 2 good penalty saves, especially the one on Havertz, because he had to stretch and claw that out with a strong hand. And I feel like no one is giving him credit for that. Really good defensive display from the Manchester United defenders, apart from Diogo Dalot. And I think it's interesting for another full week of training pretty much with Amorim. And there seems to be, I think there's the fact that United are doing it, even though Garnacho played yesterday, the fact that they're doing all this, they're looking good without the reliance on Rashford or without the reliance on Garnacho stepping up and being that guy. I only use those 2 as examples, but the fact that there's a little less hero ball, and it seems like the players are believing in the manager. Obviously, he carries a lot of charisma, which helps. Ten Hag didn't seem to have that. And I think to top it all off, because we're not playing basketball games anymore, where we're going transition one end to the other, our players can run back from a corner. I didn't even realize you tweeted that, Reece.
I was hoping the person that called me a sellout would notice it, but she didn't. She was probably too looking at defenders. But hey ho, her ball knowledge is rubbish.
The point is, I think it was United are starting to look like what Klopp donned his Liverpool side as mentality monsters. Yes, I know this is because we've got 2 draws away from home against top 6 sides 2 weeks in a row. But United under Ten Hag, once we concede that goal, that's it, we folded. Once we've got that sending off, we folded. And what I was trying to say before was the players running back in the 90th minute, that's possible because the players' fitness is there, because we're not running back and forth in transition during phases of play all the time like we were under Ten Hag. So obviously we were all vocal and very happy with the appointment of Amorim in the first place, which is funny because 4 or 5 months prior, Reece was telling me that United should never operate a back 3 as the main formation. But
in different contexts, but you'll never get it.
I like bringing it up. It's quite funny.
If you actually look at what I said, to be fair, I'm not exactly wrong. I'm not technically wrong, but what I said.
Okay, right. We can agree to disagree, but it's looking good at the moment, and it looks like I hope we do some good business in January. I'm seeing the loan link to Kolo Muani. Now, I don't think he's a goal. He won't add any goals.
He's
but
crap.
I think what he offers is he's able to create chances for himself. I don't think he's the right choice, but the board seem to take a liking to him. I don't know what the board do, to be honest. with the Marcus Rashford situation, with the Garnacho situation, with Casemiro possibly going to Saudi. But overall, I think it was a good performance given the circumstances. I think Havertz is a donkey, to be honest, because he had some really good chances, especially the one from a yard out. Should have scored there. And it proves my point about Havertz scoring goals regularly, Jesus scoring goals regularly. These aren't the forwards, these aren't the strikers that are going to win you these games where you're playing against a low block or a very tough defence. How do you unlock it? Saka is clearly the linchpin in that team, because since he's been not seen, the likes of Odegaard and other players, they seem to be failing. Now, the board don't seem to want to facilitate a move for a striker. Okay, if you want to... I think it's ridiculous that you spent money on that striker position for two players that aren't goal scorers. But if you're going to rely on two players who play more of a false nine as opposed to an out-and-out goal scorer, okay, then you sign someone else in that forward line who can get you goals for that left wing spot. Because I'm not being funny, Martinelli and Trossard, they're not it. For a title-winning team, they are not it. And Saka, when he's in the side, he's good. Havertz, Jesus, when they are cooking, in quotation marks, they're not so bad themselves with goal contributions. And they offer a lot in the link-up play. But what they're missing is that regular goal scorer or someone to add that extra dimension in goals, which they can get on that left-hand side. They just need to find the appropriate player. But
Jesus deserves what he got. I don't care.
I 100% agree. 100% agree. I just find it hilarious how Arsenal fans have come out, they're losing their heads at Arteta, or when it's clear the board don't want to spend money.
700 million.
There was this one Arsenal fan from AFTV when they beat us at the Emirates last month, talking about, with due respect, Amorim's coming in with this system which worked well in the Portuguese league, but with due respect, this isn't the Portuguese league. Irrelevant.
Honestly,
irrelevant.
It doesn't matter.
If we had a proper striker and we didn't go a man down, we might have won that game in normal time. Because when Arsenal came forward, yes, they had some good chances, especially when we were down to 10 men. But
we were a goal up as well.
Exactly. And there was no smash and grab about it. You'd only say that because of the fact that for an hour, United were down to 10 men. And how did they go forward and look more threatening? If you had an Erling Haaland, for example, in the United forward line for a couple of those breaks, different story. And I say that from the perspective of it's an elite, from an elite finisher point of view. Even if you had Šeško maybe, or a prime Sergio Aguero, or a prime Didier Drogba, or a prime Fernando Torres, it would be a different story. United might have won that game in normal time.
I'm not I don't know. I don't think it's purely down to that, but it's
I said might have.
United
I say might have if they had an elite finish. Obviously,
we do need a proper finisher though. Like I don't care about a hold up play striker. I don't care about a player who does all that. United just need somebody who can finish the ball now. The team should be doing the work. The striker just needs to finish the chances. It's gone on long enough. But Arsenal are just a weak football team, and it's good to see them suffer.
Absolutely. Is not winning anything this season. And the only thing they'll be lifting this season is their hands before taking a corner.
We won the set piece trophy.
At least Sam Allardyce was more effective with his football. He would have gone and got a striker at some point.
Just something you could love it up to him.
The funny thing is, lads, Arsenal had a striker at the start of the season. Eddie Nketiah was there.
Was he even all that though? That's the thing.
He would have scored a hat-trick against Man United yesterday.
I don't know.
I think he would have.
I don't know, because
Excellent.
he was playing as a backup at Arsenal for what, 2 or 3 years, and he only hit goals, it seems, when he was in good form. But he was he'd come off the bench a lot of times and not do much.
The chances that were afforded to Havertz and Jesus yesterday in Kea would have finished those. That's the thing. That's the difference.
Possibly.
I don't think it is. I think 100% he would have. But Arsenal's downfall is beautiful, but they are nowhere near where they should be. I don't think they're good enough, and I openly said Arteta's a shit manager.
They've stagnated.
Yeah, wrong.
I like the fact that since they last won the FA Cup, they're now on the worst run they've ever had. They failed to get past the 4th round. That's the furthest they've went in 5 years. They are embarrassing. Long may it
Exactly.
continue.
But moving swiftly on to our last topic of the night, Koinkichao doing very well at AC Milan. Let's get the graphic up.
Can I start this segment off?
Go for it.
I said to Reece from the beginning that even though there's this Italian curse, which Reece is very right to complain about, given the circumstances of this board where they want to be cost effective, they don't want to spend lots of money, they want to challenge on a budget. I said that Conceição was the best appointment they could have, well, arguably the best appointment they could have got, where in terms of where his stock was. Because obviously I rate Allegri, but Allegri's stock arguably is a bit, right now it's a bit, there's some revisionism on Twitter from Juve fans who said maybe we were wrong to want Allegri out. I mean, obviously with the new manager bounce, anything can happen in the Super Cup. Come in, wins 2 games, has won a trophy already. I feel bad for Fonseca a little bit in the fact that he was always the wrong guy for the wrong job from the very beginning. So obviously 6 months later, he's just gotten sacked in a job that he shouldn't have never been in anyway, which we ourselves said, but he's gone now, and Conceição he's just doing everything right since he's been there. You know, he's saying all the right things in presses. The team is doing the right things. He's obviously already gone and won a trophy against Juve and Inter, by the way, who aren't mugs, are they?
He's also the first manager since Inzaghi to win his first 2 Milan matches, and that was 10 years ago.
That's crazy.
That is mad.
It's not even Simone, is it? It's Pippo Inzaghi.
Yeah, Pippo, yeah. The better footballer, not the better manager. Seen that.
But I always rated the Conceição appointment. I'm curious about the January business because it doesn't look like the Rashford deal is going to happen anymore. It looks like they're going to press forward with the Walker deal.
Yeah, much better deal. Much better deal.
And, you know, Rashford, I don't know where he would fit in, whereas Walker is an immediate upgrade on the Dross. They've got a right back. And he's asking for a low wage as well. He's asking for a 7 million salary cut from what he's currently on.
I think now you put Walker in that team, it's kind of like, it's not Cafu similar in terms of quality, but it's Cafu-esque in terms of an early 30-year-old player with an abundance of experience and knows how to win. And up and down that field, fuck me.
Well, Walker's not been the same him for the last 7 or 8 months. He had a poor Euros. You know, this season he's not been that great. Hopefully a move to Italy can use his experience and even develop further, because he's always had that bozo gene about him. You know, there's always something there.
Going to play under Koinkichao might be the best thing he ever did, because he's going to play under a pragmatic manager, so he can get back into that defensive responsibility. And we'll get to see him defend, and then there'll be games where I think he'll play right centre back as well, and it'll allow Terracciano to develop as well, because I think he's still the long-term right back. I think now's the time to sell Calabria, get rid of Emerson Royale.
Well, it appears that Calabria might be heading to Juve on a free, isn't it? Isn't that what the reports are suggesting? I mean, I don't know if that's a good move for either party, but
it's because Milan are refusing to sell them to Mori now. they're refusing to sell him.
Which is a good
After-
idea, actually, because if Fonseca stuck around, that might have been the case. I think Conceição, again, good appointment. And I think
Milan need to
given
get
what Milan
Calulu
want to
back.
spend, given what Milan are looking to spend, which is not a lot,
Not until the summer, no.
it's that kind of, you can still win. You need the right manager to be able to win on a budget, and I feel like Conceição is that.
I think excuse me.
Mhm.
I think Milan now get Walker and then try and get Pepe out Porto. I think Walker and Pepe is good business, and then in the summer sign Ricky from Torino for midfield, and then try and get another striker.
Mhm.
And I think one of Morata or Abraham needs to go, get another striker in, and then keep Camarda in. They need to keep Camarda and promote him properly, and like with the first team, he doesn't even get off the bench. They need to start using him, because otherwise he'll go, and he's a talent that they need to build around. I think Milan. I think Abraham's a good striker, but his goal tally hasn't been great. Morata's goal tally hasn't been great. I think either Retegui from Genoa or go for Scamacca from Atalanta. I think Milan needs a good Italian striker up front and make the most of it, but I don't know.
That's fair enough. Anyway, lads, 1.5 hours, probably going to pull it to an end here. Any parting comments?
It's a new dawn, it's a new day, and Arsenal are no longer here to play.
Absolutely, Buzz. Julio, any parting comments?
And check out the steel chair, folks.
Yeah,
I was
shout out
about
Steel
to
Chair.
actually plug in Reese's content as well as my own, because Reese is absolutely hammering content at the moment.
Oh my god, yeah,
I think he's
amazing.
done pretty much a show a night, and I would advise anyone watching or listening to go and check it out. No doubt he's obviously wrong on those opinions over there as well as he is on football, but to each their own. But yeah, honestly, even his Pokemon wrestling crossover is quite a fun watch. So I would recommend that you go and look at that. As for me and my plugin, last month I've started my Red Brew Review channel.
Well,
Up to 300 plus subscribers now, which is great. I had to take a break because of work and university, but I've got a couple of stuff coming out this week. I've got something up tomorrow, which the Weekly Lunatic may be joining me for.
I will
We'll
be
see
there.
what happens.
You want to talk about me burning content?
He won't be the only person making a debut on my channel tomorrow. I've got a new host and a couple of other names as well who might be looking to jump on as well. So check that out. Be doing some of my own personal stuff as well, like solo. So that will be out as time goes. But yeah, just come check it out. It's Red Brew Review. Same on Twitter, same on YouTube. So come check it out. It's going to be a heck of a ride.
If you look at my screen share, I've actually confirmed since the turn of the year how much videos I've actually put out.
It is an
Some
absolute
great
madness,
thumbnails, by
lads.
the way.
Oh,
There's some
amazing.
great thumbnails.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Mixture of my own stuff and Adobe Express.
Yeah, this man is honestly smashing it right now. If I can get my words out, but yeah, thanks so much to Catherine and also Maisie, who else we had in there. John Jones, thank you so much to all for stopping in for such a great show as well. And aside from that, check out all the football this week. We have smashed it, and we will see you all in the next one. Also, got to get the Red Brew Review beautiful on there. That definitely looks like a brewery. That's the one there. Yeah, make sure to watch that as your next video. And by the way, 6.6
Click on the channel.
views. Spectacular, Rip.
can't because I'll just start playing. Let's see if I can get the channel though. 2 seconds.
Yeah, go for it.
Let me just mute myself 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
There she is, beautiful. Smashing it with the views.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, my last upload was 2 weeks ago.
My big boom period will be around. Well, it'll be starting the next. I would say from 1st of February onwards will be the boom period for me for content. Because
especially around the Royal Rumble and stuff as well.
Mm-hmm. Views, subscribers. I'm not that I'm begging for them, but like views and subscribers will genuinely get heated up at this time of year for all the wrestling content creators because of this period. It'll go until probably June. It'll heat like fuck. If I want to hit my target this year, I need to have a very good March to May.
Yeah, make sure so everyone check out. Oh jeez, oh god. The steel chair, make sure we need to get this man his target. He's been, I mean, look at the hard work he's been putting in January. He's been smashing it. But apart from that, lads, have a great week. Check out all the football. It's the South Wales derby, so the question is, will I be in a good mood or not come next week? We'll wait and find the tale. But aside from that, listen to us back on Spotify. Have a good week. Check out our socials. See you all next time.
And we'll see you next Monday.
See you next Monday. Enjoy the week, lads.
Live on YouTube. And listen back on Spotify. This is the World of Football podcast.